Having managed to get a space on the ferry, all the stress of the last few days has disappeared. Now I've just got to figure out, what do you do for 3 days on a boat? And that's 72 hours with no cabin to sleep in. Well, the first step is a bacon and egg sandwich. To recap, this is the MV Ketchikan, 382 feet, built 1998, and she'll do almost 17 knots. And we are traveling from Haines, Alaska to Bellingham in Washington, which is the longest distance this boat does. Every few hours you're allowed down to the car deck for 15 minutes, so that was one way to kill time, I discovered. I do think they should rename the sun deck and the solarium. I think the change in colour in the ocean and the weird line is seawater meeting freshwater, but I could be wrong. And other than a few man-made structures on these small islands, there's nothing to be seen. Oh, I did notice this. I don't know where my station is. There has not been any kind of a lifeboat drill or like you would have on a cruise ship. And the boat's kind of weird as well, because it feels half ferry, half cruise ship in the way things are organized. The standby vehicles did have to offload in Juneau, but thankfully 20 minutes later, they let us back on. And this being Alaska, a bit like Scotland, wait 5 minutes, the weather changes. Still beautiful though. I should let you know a few things about what's on board. There is a cinema, but don't expect the latest and greatest. There's a bar. The cafeteria, this is the crew mess, but the cafeteria itself was pretty good. There are obviously bathrooms, there are showers, there is laundry on board, which is free, and they will give you a towel, which would have been good to know, because I just spent $40 on a travel towel in the camp shop in Haines. What's more is the guy who sold me the towel told me he's ridden this boat 8 times. I did go seek out the purser to see if we'd have to offload at 10 p.m. and 2:30 in the morning. But thankfully, the announcement was made over the tannoy that we didn't. The motorcycles at least. The other cars who were standby did have to get off. Our second stop is Petersburg, halfway between Juneau and Ketchikan. Population here is about 3,300. And if you want to get here from, let's say, California, it'll take 16 and a half hours in a plane, and your wallet will be $1,400 lighter. Commercial fishing is the big business here, and each year they bring in more than 100 million pounds of fish and shellfish. About now, I'm just grateful I don't have to get off the boat, reload the bike, sit in the rain. And imagine being stuck here. There's no road anywhere else. This place is only serviced by aircraft and boats. It is fun to watch the boat come into the dock, though. The harbor pilot definitely has some skill. Ketchikan is where you arrive the next morning, and it's the only place you can get off the boat, really. Part of that would be that the headquarters for the Alaska Marine Highway System is here. I would imagine it's easier for them to service the ships, 3 of which looked like they were being overhauled. Also easier to get staff and parts and resupply here. I did a bit of digging, and the Columbia has been overhauled and is back in service on the same route I'm on. The other 2 are out of service, and I think you can see why. The conditions obviously take their toll on these boats, and the state of Alaska actually subsidizes half the price of your ticket, which for a motorcycle and myself was $1,400. There's a bus into town from the ferry dock, but I figured I would just walk a mile. Of course, it started raining again. A few cool vehicles to see on the way though, including more of those small right-hand drive K-trucks. A quick walk through the dark, wet tunnel, and you'll find yourself in downtown Ketchikan. With a population of about 8,000 people, it's also a major cruise ship stop. And there were a few in that day. Now, in the same way, cruise lines own their own private islands in the Caribbean, so you don't spend your money with anyone else. I get the impression that maybe the cruise lines also own a bunch of the stores here. I think there's also a little disagreement between some of the locals over whether these boats are really, the cruise ships are really contributing a lot to the economy. If you look at the amount they pay to berth here, you would be surprised how little money the town makes. Anytime I come across a chandlery, I always end up buying shackles. But I've got an idea. This is my new way to carry even more luggage. It's not really a good idea. This is my little corner where I sleep in the solarium. You'll note that it's day 2 is when I figured out that they do have blankets and sheets on board. A bit like the safety drill, nobody tells you things. Because we'd been offloaded in Juneau, when we got back on the boat, they repositioned where the motorcycles were and put us together out of the way, and that's why we didn't have to disembark at the other ports. You're not seeing wrong. After 48 hours of continuous rain, it's finally stopped. The whole boat seems so quiet. Well, till this goes off. I've had no training, don't know what that means. I do have a quick look around to make sure there are still people aboard. I came up with a few questions that people might have. So, is there Wi-Fi? No, although it is on the Columbia now. Will your phone work? No. If you absolutely have to text, then you need a Garmin InReach device or something like that. Can you charge your phone if you're without a cabin? Yeah, you just find an outlet in a hallway, nobody will take your stuff. Will you be bored? No, I don't think so. There's enough going on, even in the bad weather. Is the food good? It's actually not bad. It's pretty plain, you know. Hamburgers, cheeseburgers, fish. But it's better than I thought it would be. Is it unnerving to get on the boat and then be told you have to get off in Juneau and you might not get back on? Yes, particularly if I were driving a car, I would be worried that you're spending 8 days in Juneau to try and get on the next boat. I would say the whole atmosphere on board changed when the sun came out, and even more so when we saw some Pacific white-sided dolphins.
It's 4 of them, yeah.
You might wonder, is it worth doing this journey? And to some folks, yes. Maybe even just for little moments like this. But if you want to save the mileage or the time by cutting out British Columbia and part of the Yukon, then yeah, it's worth doing it once, I would say. I would caveat that by saying that you're not saving any money by going on the boat. I think it probably roundabout equals what you'd spend on fuel and accommodation and food to drive. Almost feels weird seeing man-made objects. What's going to be weirder still is tomorrow. Back on the mainland, so to speak. Back on an interstate. What's that going to feel like? I'm not so sure it's going to feel good. But let's see what we find. I think I'm going to take the route down the coast to get home. Whatever happens, I'm going to take my time.